So there's been a cancellation attempt, should we say, on Russell Brand. Not my favorite martyr, I have to say, but
Is this you jumping out in front of the bullets?
no, no, I think it's too late for that anyway.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But it's really what this tells us about the current state of affairs. But like, it's not all bad news, actually. I mean, might be for Russell Brand, but it's not. Because
Just to get this straight, though, what's he been accused of? So they come out and said he's a rapist, because that's what I've got from looking at the news.
Yes.
Something like rape, but some of them have been saying like sexual assault or indecent acts and things like this. It's actually a little bit blurry.
As you may know, YouTube arbitrarily demonetized our channel, so I'd like to thank Lotus.com's first sponsor, Atlas VPN, for supporting us and providing a service that is actually useful as we move into our new cyberpunk dystopia. Atlas VPN Premium is just $1.83 per month, with 3 months extra and a 30-day money-back guarantee if you aren't happy with the service. Follow the link in the description to sign up. You'll be liberated from region locks, so you can watch streaming content from anywhere in the world, but I think more importantly is that it masks your IP. Firstly, this prevents us from being spied upon by the various state dragnets. We find it important that it keeps your Google searches private, which prevents them from tailoring the results based on your past searches, which prevents them from hiding information because they've built up a profile against us. It also protects you from being the target of malicious ads, trackers, and malware, and informs you when someone is trying to steal your data. There has been a spate of people getting their accounts hacked recently, and Atlas VPN helps protect against that. Atlas VPN is also easy to install. Even I could do it without assistance. What you're seeing now is the footage I recorded of myself installing the thing. Once you're logged in, you can see that you just need to click on the location that you want to tell the internet where you want to be from, and you're all set. To repeat then, Atlas VPN Premium is just $1.83 per month with a 3-month extra and a 30-day money-back guarantee if you aren't happy with the service. Follow the link in the video description to sign up, and remember, supporting them is supporting us, so please do check them out.
But there's no criminal case. It's just
there's no.
women said some things.
Well, one woman has accused them of rape, took a rape kit, but then even the medical records were provided to the investigators. She chose not to press charges at the time, and the exact details of that medical record, because she took the rape kit, were not disclosed. It just said she took one. So
yeah. So this is the thing. It's kind of implied that he's a rapist, but no one's expressly stating he is a rapist, or at least I haven't seen it. They are, but it's
just the newspapers.
Well, no. They're not. They're prefixing everything with alleged, and they'll describe what he is alleged to have done, but they don't characterize him expressly. And so, but before we begin, the reason that this matters is because I think this is really just against the very principles of the rule of law that were established in this country, as elucidated by Tom Bingham in his book, The Rule of Law. I really, really like this book. Tom Bingham was a judge, a very well-known and austere one in his day. And this was just totally, it's not even a thick book, but it's just a really good read about how the rule of law came about in England and why the principles that underpinned it made England the country that it is, and not a country that, say, goes on mass lynchings on the allegation of unknown purported victims.
Well, this is a sort of flashpoint case of the laws and the books matter only insofar as the people who believe in the legitimacy of the law are willing to apply them.
Yeah.
And so we still have the same laws on the books, but because of things like Me Too and the fervor of freedom feminism that has whipped up an accusation into the presumption of guilt, that means that even though he's meant to be entitled to the protection of things like libel and slander laws and the presumption of innocence, he's not getting that at the moment.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting is the kickback against it actually is surprisingly good, even for someone like Russell Brand, right? Who, I guess, spoiler alert, he hasn't exactly got the least sordid history in entertainment.
He's got 2 lives. That's part of the issue. Yeah. So after about 2013, when he involved himself in politics with the Trues, where he was interviewing Ed Miliband, I think, on the campaign trail. I think he even spoke to Farage at one point. He was typical low information, commie leaning, and then he went on a ascetic, well-being style recovery journey because he got married and had kids and thought, well, actually, my past looks a bit dodgy. And then coinciding with that made him very skeptical of corporate power and media manipulation and the likes. So now he's falling into the left-wing populist circle.
Yeah, there's a bit of overlap with, I guess you could just say, the conspiracy sphere
Well, Joe Rogan,
well.
really.
Yeah.
Similar sort of thing.
And to be honest with you, I've been entirely supportive of that journey into questioning maybe the media is not telling me the truth about the Pfizer vaccine, blah blah blah. That sort of, area of questioning. I'm entirely supportive of that, but like I've never been a fan of Russell Brand. I actually really viscerally disliked him like 10 years ago.
His rhetorical style is like if Jordan Peterson's Conservative Manifesto was personified, and I know that's coming from me, but he's a human thesaurus.
It's not even that. It's I don't know how to describe it. Like I think there's a time and place for like woolly thinking, but Brand is not even addressing. I don't know. I'll let's just go through this and then I'll show you what I mean. I think is the easiest way. So, this is part of the whole thing, and this is really my issue with this is the way that it's being done, right? Because as you can see, I mean, if you can hear the sound, it is foreboding music. Russell Brand did all this, and like he's hanging around in dark alleys, pouncing on unsuspecting women.
I did listen to this.
Yeah, me too.
What they say that he did is that he'd get runners to ask pretty women in the audience to meet him in his hotel room.
Yeah.
Who were of age, and he'd have sex with them, and then they'd moan that they wouldn't get a call back from him the next day.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so expected. Like, yeah.
That wasn't only it, but that was a large composite of it. And
if you're including that, I always just completely lose sympathy for the producers of the piece of media that's alleging so and so is a bad man. It's like, oh my god, he didn't call girls back after having sex with them in the media industry. Wow, that's never happened. I'm so surprised. I thought he was going to marry all 3 of those girls that he took home that night.
Yeah, there's also one instance where one of the runners on Big Brother accused him of like joking about having a quickie and flashing her, and she goes, and so I went back to his apartment and slept with him.
I've got the exact quote there, right? Rachel, who was 24 at the time, so of age, says she once walked into Brown's dressing room and he flashed his penis at her. She was shocked and refused. And then she went back to his house. She said Brown continued to pursue her, and after some time, he asked her to visit his flat. When she arrived, they kissed and had sex. They began a relationship, and he told her to keep it a complete secret because apparently in his contract he was not supposed to have any sexual contact with anyone working on Big Brother, but that wasn't in the contract.
I have thoughts about the broader cultural implications of this,
Yep.
but under the current cultural rubric of consent is all that matters, and there are no other sexual safeguards that prohibit that kind of activity, he's done nothing wrong in that instance. Obviously, the other allegations are more severe and a little bit dubious, I will say. So I'm waiting on more evidence to come out, whether or not to condemn him or not. But in that, all I can say is he's got a personal vice and a personal failing, but that's not abusive.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these, again, are quite just...
But this is just the media. Like, I can't stand where they're like,
yep.
Did you know he also did this thing? So that's got nothing to do with what anyone cares about.
Why didn't you say anything about it at the time?
And also, you're Channel 4. Like, sorry, you have people with their cocks out on primetime TV. Like, do you not know what the naked shows they keep doing?
Oh, Naked Attraction and Naked Education, where they expose themselves to school kids.
Yeah, but they've always done this.
Russell Brand had his cock out. I was like, yeah, you're both.
They have always done this. You're probably too young to remember Eurotrash.
No,
that was a Channel 4 show that was basically just lewd and debauched.
All right.
Literally...
Lewd and Debauched Media Company has lewd and debauched people working for it.
Yeah. And suddenly they're like, oh, hang on a second. Don't we need to return to Victorian moral standards regarding women? No, you don't. You don't think that. This is the thing. And this is another aspect of this that really pisses me off. All of these people who are just like, so what we need is naked drag queens reading stories to kids. Except for now, because suddenly Russell Brand has, done something wrong a decade ago.
And that's the thing, like the crime is obviously something that's respected. It's like let's say the crime industry of the law.
Yeah.
So has he done something wrong? Find something out. But I think the natural pushback everyone instantly feels on this is just because we all hate the media.
Yeah.
They are just scum.
Yeah. And that's actually been one of the heartening things. I mean, what? The thing is, he seems to have been accused by women that he was having relationships with, right? That's the thing. And so it's like, right, okay. Now, I don't think that Russell Brand is someone who shows like a great deal of personal self-restraint. But I also think that if you're involved in a relationship with him, you knew who you were going out with. You knew the kind of man Russell Brand was when you start with. And hey, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to, make poor judgments or anything like that. I'm sure lots of women have thrown themselves at Russell Brand and lived to regret it.
So two angles on this.
Go on.
One, there are, and I've spoken to friends with much higher profiles as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are women who will be unsolicitedly forward
Mm-hmm.
to any man they think has some kind of public profile.
Yep.
Has happened before.
Yep.
Has happened to lots of people that you and I would both know. And so if you're Russell Brand, who's been voted top shagger of the year multiple years running by The Sun, you can only imagine that he may be a magnet for some of those things.
Yes.
And also, to Callum's point, it's not just the media that misrepresents these things and uses manipulative editing, like they did with, frankly, the Andrew Tate BBC documentary, which I am against Andrew Tate. And even I thought, wow, you're making me less convinced by the case, actually, just by how manipulative you're presenting the framing.
Yeah.
But everyone here, remember, Channel 4 hosted Big Brother. They kept giving him gigs. Everyone here knew about this, if it is true. And I can say for a fact that on the lead up to the Philip Schofield scandal, the Hugh Edwards scandal and that, I have spoken to people before in behind the scenes stuff on other networks that weren't even those networks and said, yeah, because we worked on other networks, we always heard stories and we knew people that it happened to, but just nobody says anything. There are creeps and narcissists and perverts that work in this industry on some networks more than others, and nobody speaks up because money or because they're equally as creepy.
Fame, access, they've got all of their reasons. And again, all of these are historic allegations. So there's going to be zero evidence, physical evidence for any of this, right? Presumably this is one of the...
Like in a normal country, what would happen now is the law would investigate, and then if he's found guilty, then his career is destroyed.
Yes.
We wait for that. But the West doesn't work like this. We all just... Well, it works like that sometimes, doesn't it? Like you said with Philip Schofield or whoever else that they support, suddenly everyone has to wait.
But I think it's important to remember Russell Brand's career trajectory in this, because
he went from in the tent to out the tent.
Exactly. He that's exactly it. And he is also successful. In fact, we'll get into that a little further in, right? So this is like a major summary of the thing. And like this, again, it really just feels like sort of he said, she said situation. There's only one thing in this that's convincing that I'll get out in a second. But like the major allegation that I thought was like the most aggressively he raped me one was from a woman called Nadia, not her real name. Again, they exchanged phone numbers. They got in touch. They began texting and phoning. They met up in 2012 in his house in LA and then went on to have consensual sex. But she was unsettled by his glazed over look.
There were multiple women in this in the documentary that described his eyes turning black like Jaws, as if he's got demonic possession or something.
Yeah.
And it's, again, another manipulative framing device trying to depict him as a monster.
Yeah, well, and like,
even
glazed over look. Like, have these people never had sex before? Like, sorry, he wasn't.
He might have just been really bad, love.
But like,
I thought sex was just kissing.
But like, I thought I was just going through my groceries when I was having sex, but Russell Brand seemed to be into it. Like, okay. Like, every woman I've had sex with gets a glazed over look in her eyes when you're having sex.
But the question is, was it consensual or not? She just told us yes. So then...
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. But
the later one is that she alleged it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's this particular... This is essentially the smoking gun. Now, you'll notice that there's a weird... if you look at the blue line, the blue block, and you go along the line on the side, you'll notice there's a weird sort of mismatch there. Where it looks like it's been stitched together, but I'm not saying that this is fake, because I don't think this is fake. I think it would be too stupid for them to fake this. I think they've just had where it's on a phone screen and screenshotted and then stitched it together afterwards to make
someone in Photoshop's not done a great job.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd think they would have done a better job, but okay. But I'm not saying that this is fake or Photoshop, because I don't think it is, to be honest. Can we zoom out on that again? Just so we can see the whole thing. So yeah, as you can see, right, she's complaining that basically what she thinks is, what she says is that she went to his house and then he grabbed her, had sex with her when she didn't want to, without using a condom. And
this is the second time?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's the second time.
This
it's a consequent time. It's not the first time she went.
I think this is the time that she accuses where she came over, he answered the door naked, said there was another girl in the house.
Yeah, she didn't want to have a threesome.
But then the actual text is vague enough that it reads like he could have just taken the condom off during it, which she also alleges it happening. So it reads like it could be connecting to separate incidents. This is, I'm not alleging she's making it up, and I'm not alleging that he hasn't done it. I'm just saying the fact that the lack of evidence raises questions here means that it's basically impossible to believe.
Possibly, to be honest with you, I'm more inclined to believe that this is probably as she describes it, because he apologizes afterwards. As you can see there, I am very sorry. I'll make this up to you, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, yeah, this I think could be considered to be a strong allegation against him, right? Sure.
Yep, and lock him up.
Strong allegation, sure. If there's any evidence for it as well, as Callum said, lock him up. But also,
it was over a decade ago, and you obviously didn't want to go further with it.
Also, this is the only thing that's been provided. It is out of context, and he could have just been conciliatory for some unrelated thing.
Possibly, but I'm not prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt on this. I think that she went over there with the intention of having sex with him. He had sex with her, but in a way that she wasn't happy with. And so, yes, you could call that rape, right? You could call that rape. And she, what?
Could you?
Yeah, I think so.
Legally?
Yeah, I think so.
Technically now, yes, because they've changed the legal definition of rape, basically from non-consensual penetrative activity to any sexual activity which does not have affirmative enthusiastic consent before the stage. Yeah, it's mental. I know.
What does that mean?
So you know when you like,
I was worried now. Wait a minute. What?
So the mood
Well,
killing.
I've got to ask her in the middle of just keep asking
at each stage, yes, genuinely, that's the feminist proposal. It has been adopted into Californian law,
right,
and this happened in LA as well.
Yeah. But it's I don't it's not the predator hanging around a dark alley ambushing unsuspecting women. It's a woman who's in a relationship with him, and they had sex in a way that she didn't want, and he apologized. I assume that she continued seeing him afterwards. And she let it go, as you say. She didn't press charges or anything like that. So, okay, what's happening here? Well, these women whoever they are, know that Russell Brand is Russell Brand.
The really red flag thing that came up for me was the 16-year-old girl
who
had alleged it. So obviously she came forward. It wasn't her name, and her face and identity were withheld, but she actually sat through it and gave it. My concern is that towards the end of the documentary for the full Channel 4 thing, they then said, so they'd met when she was meeting a friend in Leicester Square in the building where MTV was housed, and she said, okay, well, he offered me a date there, and he took me out and that. One, who are the people around this girl, if she is 16, failing her to such an extent where she goes on repeated dates with 30-year-old men that pick her up on that? Is there no building security? Is there no logs? Why have we not provided this evidence? But at the end of the documentary, they say, Alice, they dubbed her, who now works for Channel 4. So the girl making the smoking gun allegation now works for the exact same TV station that's running this that used to employ Russell Brand. That seems like a conflict of interest.
Also, what legal action could have been taken? Because 16 is in the age of majority, right?
Yes.
So even if everyone was like, look, I think that's wrong, which it would have been, but there's nothing legally anyone could have done.
I think
it's a matter for the law to change if you want that to change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think there was
which it probably should.
There's a bit of a legal grey area between 16 and 18. I think that sometimes that has been seen as like a grooming case before.
Maybe.
But also she didn't go to the police with that years later. She went to his publishing agent when he was putting a book out.
Yeah.
So that's just the wrong way to go about it if it did happen. Again, this is just why it seems straining credulity.
Yeah. And so, okay, fine. Russell Brand has a gross history.
Yes.
I'm happy to concede that. Maybe...
Is he rapist?
Maybe he went too far or acted in a way that the women he was seeing at the time didn't want. Yeah, I can concede that. Yeah. It's entirely possible.
If he's a provable rapist, give him the death penalty. But we haven't been proven yet.
I don't know. That's the thing. Even if it can be categorized as a case of rape, I don't think it's like, it's not him hanging around on a street corner and raping an unsuspecting old woman, right?
Well, there were
most rapes work anyway.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure it's not. But like,
there were allegations where so in the allegations, it was like a girl his girlfriend would come over. She wouldn't want to have sex. He'd hold her against a wall or against the bed and do that.
Yeah.
So that would be that. But again, there is no evidence of that. It's just the allegation. So if you provide us evidence,
but there is going to be no evidence. That's the thing. There's going to be no evidence. So okay, fine. But anyway, so obviously it's on all of the front papers. Just look at every single paper.
This had no consequences when they did this in the 90s to a bunch of celebrities that ended up dead.
Yeah. So anyway,
really, they're trying to sell papers. To be honest,
yeah.
There's a reason we're talking about it, which is it's the way the media works in this country, which is
and in other countries.
Well, in some countries you don't do this. You wait for the courts to decide whether or not the person is guilty, and then the press are allowed to talk about it.
But there isn't even a legal case against them yet.
I know, and that's what I mean. Like, this is, in my opinion, sorry, I almost broke the mic there, almost slander.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
We were only talking about it because they're talking about it.
Yeah.
And they're here like, man, rapist, accused. It's like, well, that kind of
in the big font, Russell Brand raped me across the entire front cover, and then
small print
allegedly.
But the thing is, right, I'm not prepared to give the media the benefit of the doubt here, because they know exactly what they're doing when they do this. They know that most people literally not buy their paper, but at least walk past, see the headline and go, Russell Brand rapist, right?
Yeah.
That's new.
name allegation.
Exactly.
That's all you need.
Exactly. They know, and they also know that if they put this on the front page, it's not necessarily going to sell more papers. It is definitely going to destroy Russell Brand's reputation with the average person who's not politically engaged.
That's true.
They know what they're doing, and they're all doing it all at once. Why? Now, I would suggest that actually the Times has told us, which I'll get into in a minute. But before we do, there has been a few updates that the Times give us. Metropolitan Police has begun inquiries into Brand's alleged mistreatment of women and called on any victims to speak to officers. Yeah, you'd think that victims of Russell Brand would go to the police at some point.
Well, and this is part of the broader point about the consent framework being weak.
But the police, we've not heard from any victims. Every front paper, every page, it's like, you are all scum. Right? Again, I don't even particularly like Russell Brand. I definitely don't respect his history. But you're all scum.
So, obviously, one of the ways that you can safeguard against this is not have the sexual history of Russell Brand. However, if we look at Brett Kavanaugh, who is a married family man and had never been accused of sexual impropriety before, just because he is a prominent figure who is being appointed to the Supreme Court and threatening Roe v. Wade.
What about Clarence Thomas?
Well, yeah, but
Same thing, right?
But Brett Kavanaugh was even more egregious, because Brett Kavanaugh, they had one accuser come out and totally fabricate her
But
story.
Biden did exactly the same with Thomas.
I know, but the worst thing, and I'm connecting it to this, is because as soon as one accuser came out and was televised, lots more accusers came out to be represented by McAnavanati with escalating ridiculousness of their claims. Those people were never charged for making false accusations. Christine Blasey Ford just got a book deal.
But at least you know their names, right?
Yes.
At least you know their names. The anonymous accusers of Russell Brand, going back to Tom Bingham's rule of law, one of the most concrete, fundamental principles of having the rule of law is to be able to face your own accusers. But of course, there's no criminal case. The police haven't even heard from any victims.
Yep.
So what is this? This is not actually Russell Brand did something wrong. This is, we hate Russell Brand and want to destroy him. And
until there's a criminal case, what else could it be?
Exactly. What else could it be until there's a criminal case? Channel 4 have begun an investigation of their former presenter, and a TV production company started an urgent internal investigation. Urgent? This happened over a decade ago. He used to work for you all the time. Like, you would know what kind of person he is.
Many of you were having sex with him?
Yeah, exactly. Some of the people there have had sex with him. I mean, okay. A leading domestic abuse charity ended its ties with the comedian. It's saddened to learn about the allegations, and that's really what this was. Right, Russell Brand needs to be excoriated and excised from public life. We want him gone. He has been, frankly, a big mouth, and a big mouth in the wrong direction. As you said, he went from inside the tent to outside the tent. That's what this is. And we know that's what this is, because literally this is from the Times, their original article, this particular investigation, right? They were all approached by, they all said they felt ready to speak only after being approached by reporters. Several said they felt compelled to do so, given Brand's newfound prominence as an online wellness influencer with millions of followers on YouTube and other sites.
So the investigation went and sought out people that they already knew may have been connected to Brand, and then were referred to others who might have an axe to grind against him politically. And this mask off moment was betrayed as well when a bunch of op-eds of all places, because they've been decent recently, The Telegraph came out saying Russell Brand's an alt-right figure. It's like, sorry, what? Oh, so his politics does have something to do with these accusations then? Why are you all moving in lockstep?
Explicit from this Times article. He's got millions of followers online. He has newfound prominence. We need to come forward because he is speaking against the hegemonic narrative of what's happened in the last 3 years.
Isn't that really funny, though? Because he's not our guy.
No, not at all.
He's never going to be. But the only thing that makes him outside the tent is like, I'm not purposely going to be retarded anymore.
I'm not sponsored by Pfizer.
Yes.
Yeah, but on a whole bunch of things where he's like, I'm just not going to believe what you guys say uncritically. You've got to go.
I have
like you're outside the tent just for that.
About the money complex that is going on regarding the government, the media, and the drug companies, and what that's done to society. Says one concerned local man, and suddenly, that rapist. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, okay.
Same thing happened with Trump, though.
Yeah. This is an ancient playbook that they use every single time.
At least in Donald Trump's case, like, you join the opposition party and reform it so it's actually an opposition. Like, he does a big thing there.
Yeah.
Whereas in British society, all you have to do is be like, yeah, I'm not just going to believe it uncritically anymore. That's all. The smallest crime.
I mean, I was listening. I had to get a taxi in today because there's a massive storm yesterday and it flooded the river I have to ride over on a bridge, completely flooded. It wasn't that deep, I didn't think. And so I thought, I can get through there. No, it went up to my knees and I was like, I think I'd just better get a taxi in today. And so I'm in the taxi on the way and it's literally just, like BBC Two or something. The guy's listening to talking about Russell Brand. And every time, like, so Russell Brand raped someone, allegedly. And then, and Russell Brand, the rapist, allegedly. And it's like, this is not breaking news, actually. This isn't like, there are more important things going on in the world than
things that might be true.
Yeah. And also things that might matter. Like these women were like, yeah, okay, I had a bad experience with Russell Brand, but I mean, I expect.
But it does matter to the people bankrolling the media institutions who are sponsored. I mean, the BBC takes tons of money from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Absolutely.
Various American outlets take sponsorships from Pfizer directly. We've all seen the compilations. And so if Brand is critiquing Big Pharma and the military-industrial complex, no matter how much his solutions might be off in commie airy-fairy land, he is still, with multiple millions of subscribers, an effective tool for critiquing the hegemony that reaches normal people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why they've singled him out and gone, right, well, we can just pull the trigger on this pretty much anytime. I mean, this was years in the making. They started this in early 2019. They were made aware of it. But 4 years later, they decided to pull the trigger. I wonder why. What happened between 2019 and 2023?
Let's ask Tom Harwood.
Yeah, that made them hate Russell Brand. Really weird. I mean, they've obviously known about this. Channel 4 have been sat on this for over a decade. They've all known this. Like this other woman, she's been sat on this for years, dismissed it, didn't press charges, didn't care. Well, who knows? Whatever. But then, the thing I like about this has been the pushback against the media. That's the thing that really matters to me. Sanjita Miska, an LBC host, says, quote, "The investigation into Russell Brand is not a coordinated attack by the MSM. It's a joint piece of work by credible journalists working with credible news organizations."
That does translate to coordinated attack.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't trust the Times as far as I can throw them after they tried to ambush journalism me once.
Yeah.
And Channel 4, no.
But this isn't a coordinated attack by the MSM. Yes, it is. That's exactly what that means.
It just happens every month.
Yeah, it just happens all the
Some
time.
new thing every month.
That's why we've got that little phrase, a coordinated attack by the MSM. We have that phrase to summarize a piece of journalism, quote unquote, done by credible news organizations. I mean, what's a credible journalist in 2023? What do they look
Mariana Spring?
Yeah, exactly. You lied about me. You're such liars.
I can fix her.
And so I'm just like, look, if you hadn't cried wolf so many times and borne such false witness, maybe people would believe you when you claim to be credible, because no one believes you. And that's the thing. If Sanjita Miska has to come out and be like, well, we're credible journalists, I think you're losing, and I think we're doing really well, because I think the dialectic's going in the other direction, isn't it? It's just assumed you're not credible, and you have to come out and go, no, we are credible. Trust me, please. Bollocks. But of course, Kathy Newman, I'm in awe of these 5 women. Name them, Kathy. Who? Who are those women? You don't know. You have no idea who they are. How can you be in awe of them?
So what you're saying is you don't believe women?
I am saying that. She doesn't know who these people are, and yet she's like, oh, well, forensic work from Channel 4 Dissident. They got some text messages. Forensic work.
I mean, again, if you had concrete evidence, then no one would be like, we don't trust the media.
Yeah.
You'd be presenting evidence.
In court.
But that, of course, that doesn't matter to Kathy Newman. We're lynching a dissident. That's what we are doing. This is a public lynching of Russell Brand. Now, who knows whether he's guilty or not.
Again, reminder, Kathy Newman went straight from Channel 4 to the Times.
That's a good point. This is one woman who says that she was asked to, I don't know, tell on Russell Brand. Again, what do we call this? There's no criminal evidence, so she wasn't asked to testify against Russell Brand, because there's no court case or anything. But they contacted her, and she was like, but I had a good relationship with them. I had a good time with them. I don't have anything to say. And they were like, okay, we're leaving that out of the documentary, which same thing happened with Andrew Tate. Again, all of these people who I personally, in fact, if I had to be asked, I'd be like, yeah, he probably does have skeletons in his closet.
But that's the problem for the court.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I said. This trial by media is nothing more than a lynching. Why should they have the power to do this? Brand's committed a crime, go to the police until they're convicted. I don't want to hear about it. That's my opinion.
I think what's happened as well, not just that these accusations are politically expedient for the forces that profit off of the exact kind of people Russell Brand critiques. So he's become inconvenient. But also and this, you see this with Me Too, the sort of revolutionary terror of the sexual revolution, is that the consent framework is insufficient for how women think about sex. So if women are going through hookups, then that's how you get to the regret is rape situation. And where if you're Russell Brand, if you have hundreds, possibly thousands of hookups with women, some of them are going to regret that because they feel bad about themselves and possibly pull that card on you later. So you've just got to beware. It's not right.
Sure, but it's the world we live in. And again, like you say, it's not it. There are so many people who would have a stake in doing this, like the Me Too movement, as Aidan Paladin and there's so many bogus Me Too cases. Yeah, there is.
Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, like loads, just like loads. And so it's not like this power hasn't been abused in the past by the very same kinds of people who are now promoting the abuse of this power in the future.
Do you remember when I went Piers Morgan and the woman sat next to me and said, actually, I like that terror, men should be afraid. So there are people out there like that want the ability to make false accusations against their political enemies.
Exactly. And so we've got various sort of columns holding this allegation up, and every single one of them is totally suspect. Again, it's not like I think Russell Brand has never done anything wrong. He's not Donald Trump, right? Again, just don't know.
Accurate assessment.
Weird that he's the guy I can use as the example of someone who did nothing wrong. But he's. I don't doubt that he's got a long, sordid history of either going too close to the line or going over the line at least a few feet, and then because this is the thing. It's all about degree, and these women knew what they were getting into when getting involved with Russell Brand. Why did they wait? Because it wasn't expedient. There was nothing to gain. They'd let it go. Okay, that was a mistake I made. I shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly, oh, we're from the Times, we're from Channel 4. Would you like to, and yes, it all comes together. And so they're trying to cancel him. And again, I've got no personal love of Russell Brand. Actually, for the longest time, I found him insanely annoying. But I did kind of like his sort of skeptic arc because I kind of agreed with it. Anyway, so yeah, Russell Brand being lynched. The only good thing about this is the amount of remarkable pushback that I've seen. Like Elon Musk has been tweeting about this. Tucker Carlson tweeted
Jordan
about
Peterson.
it. Jordan Peterson. Like everyone is like, look, no, we're not having this. And so far, on the scale of cancellation, it's just been the charity that's dropped them. So okay, that's good.
I think his agent has as well.
Not like he needs an agent. What does he do?
That's a good point, actually.
He doesn't.
Well, you might need one when you work in TV, but in the modern age,
he literally streams to YouTube and Rumble. He didn't need an agent.
No, but if someone wants to get in contact as well, like he's got social media.
Exactly.
Booking live gigs might be a pain in the back.
Sure, but I'm sure
probably someone going to pick him up again.
He's not going to have trouble getting an agent. Right? The cancellation has been incredibly minor, and that's probably much to their disappointment. But it has been nice to see just. And this is why everyone's saying, oh, the right wing is leaping to defend Russell Brand. It's like, well, no, we just really hate cancellations.
We're defending the principle.
Yeah, he's not our guy. No, at all. He's not a right wing hero or anything. I'm sure Bernie Sanders was skeptical of the vaccine industrial complex, but either way, this kind of behavior just can't be allowed to stand.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Epoch series, this episode on the War of Austrian Succession. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.